People are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. And it's so true, and it's something I dreaded. You know, I never dreamed that something I would avoid would turn into something I protect. Because this is where you discover God's will for your life. It's in those unseen hours alone. Hey, I'm Terry Savelle Foy, your cheerleader of dreams. I want to share with you the best advice I've ever gotten to absolutely discover God's will for your life, to improve your life in the best way possible. And I have a big announcement for you. We are releasing my brand new book, The Alone Advantage, today on the broadcast for the first time. And it's all about the 10 behind-the-scenes habits successful people practice behind closed doors, and I'll tell you about it later. But first, let me tell you a true story about the basketball great Kobe Bryant. Now, of course, he was known for outworking everybody else in the offseason. In fact, a guy named Alan Stein was brought into the Nike Skills Academy to work with Kobe and all these other greats. Now, keep in mind, at this time, Kobe Bryant was already at the top of his field, already a multimillionaire, headed to the NBA Hall of Fame, MVP, you know, you get the picture. And this is during the off season. Well, Kobe would arrive at 3:30 in the morning so he could start by 4 a.m. So Alan was watching him, and he said he was just shocked at the simplicity of what he was doing. He spent the first 30 minutes without even having a basketball in his hands. He was just doing these basic pivoting and footwork drills, and his workout lasted like a couple of hours. Well, at the end of his workout, Alan went up to him and he said, "Kobe, I don't get it, man." He said, "You're the best player in the world. Why are you doing such basic drills?" He said Kobe smiled at him, he winked, and he said in a real serious tone, "Why do you think I'm the best player in the world?" He went on to say, "It's because I never get bored with the basics. I never get bored with the basics." Well, Alan said that changed his life. He said ever since that day, that has been his core philosophy for life. Never get bored with the basics and mastering the fundamentals during the unseen hours. See, if you want to know God's purpose and direction for your life, it starts by giving Him a little bit of your time and your ear during the unseen hours. These are the basics that drive crazy success. Now, I know you know this, but let me tell you my story of how I switched from knowing this to actually doing this. Now, I don't know if you've heard my story of years ago when my husband Rodney and I separated on the verge of a divorce. We were in debt, no money in our savings account, living from paycheck to paycheck. I had no dreams or goals for my life, and I was just in a rut for 11 years. I was filled with pain from my past, very insecure. I had a fear of rejection from just things I went through growing up. Well, my dad, who was my boss at the time, he asked me to work from home temporarily while I was going through separation from my husband, just in a mess. But he said these words that sort of freaked me out. He said, "I want you to work from home alone." Now, I hated being alone, and especially at that time in my life, on the verge of divorce, I did not want to be alone. Plus, I was used to always being so busy that I never had time to be alone. But God was setting me up, and I believe He's speaking to you right now through this story. In fact, Robin Sharma said, most people are scared of being alone because when you're alone, you not only start thinking, but you start feeling. And that's hard and uncomfortable because that's where you grow. Well, I found out that the average person does not spend time alone. The average successful person does. And you might think, alone? Why do successful people spend time alone? Well, I found out firsthand that growth, success, transformation in any area of your life, it happens in private, behind closed doors, in the unseen hours. Well, this is what was missing in my life when everything was falling apart. In fact, I remember day one of working from home alone. After I dropped my daughter Cassidy off at school, I drove home, walked into my kitchen. I lit a green tea scented candle, which I can almost smell today. I grabbed just an empty journal and a blue pen, not quite this size, but I plopped myself on the sofa and I actually set a timer for 20 minutes, which sounded like an eternity, and I just sat there. Now, I had never practiced the art of doing nothing. I couldn't remember the last time I truly just sat still and listened for that still small voice, or even listened for my own thoughts. But I began to ask myself vital questions. In fact, I put a list of those questions in part 1 of the new book. But see, so many people say, don't just sit there, do something. I say, don't just do something, sit there alone and think and ask yourself questions. See, with distractions all around you, the best thing you can do is schedule some time to be alone, to get out your journal and just ask yourself questions. Well, getting alone was the best advice I have ever received. In fact, scheduling time to be alone is where I began to learn the 9 other behind-the-scenes habits that literally drive crazy success. Now, this is habit number 1 I'm sharing quickly today. This was over 20 years ago, and I've never stopped this routine of investing time alone to think, to dream, and to listen up for God's voice. So this advice and these 10 habits have led to a marriage restored, 32 years together, debts paid off with money in the bank, launching an organization, writing 15 books now, having this broadcast, speaking at some of the largest conferences in the world, purchasing offices and hiring teams of people, and having the opportunity to write this long-awaited book to tell you about the advantage successful people know about and the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. So here's the thing. People are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. See, what you do when nobody's watching is how you find yourself. You discover your purpose, your dreams, and you start hearing from God, which prepares you for success. That's why I call it the alone advantage. This is where transformation, growth, progress starts in your life. It's in private. Now, I remember hearing a coach say, God can't use you publicly until you get victory privately. The business world says it like this. People are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. And it's so true, and it's something I dreaded. You know, I never dreamed that something I would avoid would turn into something I protect. Because this is where you discover God's will for your life. It's in those unseen hours alone. So in habit number 1 of the alone advantage, I'm going to show you how to never get bored with the basics of spending time with God to just listen up and hear His unique direction for your life. I say it like this. You're going to want a do not disturb sign immediately. Okay, another alone advantage habit that I want to reveal, because I want to give you 3 habits today. But the second one is actually part 9 of the new book, and I call it Step Up. Now, we just discussed listen up, but this is step up. Now, what does that mean? Well, this is the alone advantage that leads to unprecedented opportunities. Let me say it like this. What if God only blessed what you were prepared for? Let me give you an example. You know, I heard Steve Harvey talk about how years ago he was at a comedy club just in the audience. Well, the final act that night canceled. They were a no-show. So someone approached Steve and asked if he was ready to perform. And he said, no, I've never practiced anything. And nobody's ever heard of Steve Harvey. No, he was ready. He got up there and performed a routine he had practiced over and over and over, not knowing if he'd ever get an opportunity to perform it. Well, he won the contest. He earned $50. He said he cried all the way home, quit his job the next day, and he became one of the greatest comedians of all time. Well, Coach John Wooden said it like this. He said, when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. So which opportunity do you need to start getting ready for behind closed doors? What do you need to start preparing that looks so foolish and ridiculous to everyone around you? But God is saying, when I know you're ready, get ready. Because preparation time is never wasted time. You know, I think about this, the YouTube channel we have. When I started my YouTube channel, I felt so unprepared, unqualified, scared. I had 22 views a day the whole first year. But I just kept filming week after week after week, just practicing in front of the camera, getting a little more comfortable with each video. And I remember the day I was at Lakewood Church just attending a service. Well, at the end of the meeting, the TV crew came up to me and they said, "We want you to close out Joel Osteen's service on Sirius XM." What? Millions of viewers watching? But you know what? I was ready. I can't say I was a little nervous, but I'd been filming that little video week after week after week. What am I saying? Preparation time is never wasted time. Start doing something to start preparing for the dreams in your heart. You know, Zig Ziglar said, "You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great." Now, you're going to love reading story after story of successful people who got ready behind the scenes. Like, basketball great Larry Bird. He said he would shoot 500 free throw shots every morning before his first class in the unseen hours. Or I think about actor Jim Carrey. He said he would sit in front of a mirror, contorting his face for hours, just perfecting his skills alone. Winston Churchill, one of the 20th century's greatest orators, he practiced his speeches compulsively, they said, behind closed doors. So you can see, people are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. So it's time to step up and prepare. And I'm telling you, when God knows you're ready, get ready. Now, this includes financially, too. I heard a story about a guy named Patrick Bet David. He was talking about when he was in the Army, and he said his buddy told him to start investing $25 a week. He told Patrick, "You should do this too." Patrick said, "No, that's not going to make a difference." But his friend just kept preparing for his future. $25 a week, $25 a week. Then he went to 50, then 75. 3 years later, this guy had $18,000 set aside for when he got out of the Army. He was proactive. He was ready to start his life. Patrick said, "I had nothing. I spent it all on junk food." Well, I think about my dad back in 1969. When he first felt God calling him to preach, nobody knew him. He'd never preached a sermon. He was an auto mechanic. He owned Jerry's Paint and Body Shop. But God told him it's time to get ready, to prepare in private so one day God could use him in public. Well, the Lord told him the first thing. He said, "I want you to go in your guest bedroom and just pray for the people who one day will hear you preach." So Dad said he went in the guest bedroom, closed his eyes, and he said, "I didn't see a bed and a dresser and a nightstand." He saw the faces of thousands of people, and he just began praying for those people. Then the Lord told him it's time to kick it up a notch. He told him, "I want you to prepare the sermon that you're going to preach to the people who one day will hear this." So I'm sure my dad sat at his little typewriter. This is back in 1969, 70. Alone, behind closed doors, he prepared a sermon. Then number 3, the Lord told him to kick it up a notch. He said, "I want you to put your suit on, go in that guest bedroom and preach as if you're preaching to thousands of people." Now, I'm sure my dad probably put a little polyester suit on back in the 70s. Keep in mind, this is all being done behind the scenes, behind closed doors, in private. Well, just my dad and the Lord. The day came when my dad was working for Kenneth Copeland, assisting him, selling his tapes, driving him around the world, all over the United States. Well, one day, out of nowhere, Kenneth Copeland calls my dad's hotel room and says, "Are you ready?" Dad said, "I'm ready." Mr. Copeland said, "For what?" Dad said, "Whatever you want." Mr. Copeland said, "I want you to preach this morning." Dad said, "I'm ready." He had the alone advantage. Now let me ask you, what if God only blessed what you were prepared for? What if you seized the alone advantage to get ready, to start preparing for the dreams that are in your heart? That's what successful people do, because when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. I think about my dad. He has preached to as many as 50,000 people in Nigeria. But it all started in 1969, preaching to an empty bedroom, to a bed and a dresser and a nightstand behind closed doors. So did you know that some breakthroughs only happen based on your preparation? Think about it. Kobe Bryant's preparation in the unseen hours prepared him to be a legend in his sport. My preparation of filming those little videos week after week for 22 people, it prepared me to have nearly 40 million views on YouTube today. My dad's preparation paved the way for him to write over 70 books and impact nations. What could happen in your life tomorrow if you started getting ready today, behind closed doors? I'm telling you, this is the alone advantage that drives crazy success. And by the way, I want you to get my brand new book, The Alone Advantage, that we're offering for the very first time. Now, I reveal the 10 habits behind the scenes that successful people practice. And this week, we put together a special package for you with the new book, plus your personal gratitude journal for you to start this habit. This is one of the 10 of writing what you're grateful for. Practice the habit of expressing thankfulness to God. I'm telling you, it changes everything. So we put this special offer together. Instead of $40 for both, we reduced it to only $30. So if you don't want to wait till the end of the broadcast, you can call the number on the screen to order yours today, or you can go to terry.com and we will ship it to you immediately. Let me just ask you, what if the book publisher called and said, we've had a cancellation, we're ready to publish your book, send it over right now? Are you ready? Have you been writing your book? What if God brought your spouse today? Are you ready? Are you dating someone that you know isn't God's choice for you? Is your house in order? Are your finances healthy? Is your body in shape? What if your dream house came on the market? Are you ready to buy it? Have you been saving money? What if your dream job came available? Are you ready to take the position? Have you been learning new skills? Are you reading books on leadership and preparing yourself to lead a team? When opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. So now is the time to prepare for what God wants to do in your life over the next 12 months. Be ready. Okay, the third habit I want to touch on today is this. Wake up. Now this, I'll explain, but this is an alone advantage that leads to mastering self-discipline. Did you know that just waking up earlier can lead to massive success? Now you may have heard me tell the story how years ago, John Maxwell, he's speaking at this leadership conference, and he agreed to do a Q&A at the end. You've probably seen this before, but this young guy with an MBA, he's just observing everything about this conference, admiring John Maxwell. Well, think about it. There's 2,000 people in attendance who paid $2,000 each. So I like to get my little pocket calculator and do some math. So 2,000 times 2,000 is $4 million in one weekend. So the kid says to John Maxwell, I want to do what you do. John Maxwell said, well, what do you think I do? He said, well, you write these best-selling books, you speak at conferences, you impact lives. He said, I want to do what you do. John Maxwell said, young man, it's not a matter of doing what I do. He said, the question is, do you want to do what I did so you can do what I do? The kid said, well, I wish I had somebody to lead, a team, a company. He said, where do I start? John Maxwell said, good question. Start with you. He said, if you wouldn't follow yourself, why should anyone else want to follow you? So here's my point. You can't have $1 million dream with minimum wage habits. You can't have $1 million dream with minimum wage habits. Well, I found out successful people, they have the habit of just waking up earlier than everybody else. Why? To invest in themselves. I heard a success coach say, if I could come to your house and just watch you for 24 hours, I could tell whether or not you're going to be a success or a failure. I thought, how in the world? He said, the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. So during my alone time, I just started waking up earlier and listening to messages and reading books that would help me grow. Why? Because faith comes by hearing. So see, the most successful people in the world, they practice what we call mind over mattress. In the new book, you'll discover what I call the Sunday night strategy of how you plan your entire week Sunday night and the 5 habits that I follow every single day before breakfast. It's not hard. It's just a matter of doing it. And just waking up 30 minutes earlier would give you an extra 15 hours a month to work on you, to prepare for success, to hear God's voice, to get direction for the next phase of your life, just 30 minutes earlier. So I'm telling you, this is where you truly gain an advantage. Start winning the battle of the bed and just wake up. Your repetition is your reputation. Did you hear that? Your repetition is your reputation. Now let me remind you that changing your life happens behind closed doors in the private hours that leads to success in front of the crowd. That's why I call it the alone advantage. It's not what you do in front of people that changes your life. It's what you do behind the scenes day after day. Robert Collier said it like this. He said, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Now, I remember hearing a story about a success coach who met with the Atlanta Falcons football team for this, motivational pep talk. So he told these big guys, he said, I want you to just get out a sheet of paper and write down your biggest dreams, just one by one. Write down your biggest goals. So they followed his advice. Well, after that, he told them, he said, I want you to hold your goals up in the air. So they did. And then he said this, I want you to rip them up. The coach said these guys were not happy about this experiment at all. In fact, they finally submitted to the nonsense. But the coach explained why he had them do that. He said, how many other players have the exact same dream that you do? To win a championship, to go to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. He said, everyone in the NFL has these very goals. Are the goals alone going to get you where you want to go? No, not by themselves. He said, now I want you to write down your commitments to achieve these goals. Think about that. What will you commit to each day that will lead you to your greatest dreams? See, I never realized until 2002 when my life was falling apart that each morning I lost the battle of the bed, it was taking me further from success. Each morning that I just slept an extra 30 minutes was compounding to an extra 15 hours a month that could change my life or keep me stuck. So the most successful people in the world, they wake up, they get up, they conquer the covers. Just waking up earlier than you do right now, but also go to bed earlier, will make you feel amazing. You just feel like you're joining the ranks of successful people. Start with 15 minutes, work your way to 30, then an hour or 2 hours. So, in my new book, I share the 10 behind-the-scenes habits that successful people practice, and they drive crazy success. I want you to get this book and just start with habit number 1. Remember, the first habit behind the scenes is scheduling time to be alone, to think, to dream, to plan, to pray, to start journaling what you hear. This is a small change that produces drastic results. I think this is funny. Tony Robbins asked the #1 plastic surgeon, what makes the biggest difference in making someone who feels ugly into feeling pretty? You know what he said? 2 degrees. He said just lifting someone's nose 2 degrees, lifting eyelids and cheeks, all kinds of parts, 2 degrees. He said it makes a world of difference. He said most people think it's changing everything. Making 2 degrees of change makes the biggest difference. Well, I'm telling you, just making an adjustment and scheduling time to yourself is 2 degrees that can change your whole life. Remember, people are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. Now, let me add this real quick. If the thought of being alone, to hear from God, to reflect, to journal, to gain insight in isolation bores you, then maybe having just a little timer will make it more realistic. See, it's not what we do occasionally that shapes our lives, it's what we do consistently. It's not one 2-hour workout that shapes your body. It's 20 minutes of exercise every day. It's not an all-day cleaning marathon that keeps your house clean. It's 20 minutes of maintenance each night before you go to bed. It's not reading one full book in one day that shapes your mindset. It's 20 minutes of inspiration at the start of each day. So my point is, master your minutes in private and you'll master your life in public. So again, here's what I put together for you today to help you start these behind-the-scenes habits that successful people practice. I've been wanting to write this book for a long time because I am a product of my product. When I started doing these habits behind closed doors, everything in my life changed, improved, and grew. And I'm seriously unrecognizable from who I was when I started these habits. Thank God. And I'm thrilled to share with you a dream come true for me. The pre-release of this book hit #1 on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in 5 categories. I've never had anything like that happen for me, so I am grateful beyond words. But it is just proof that people are searching for direction from God. So I want you to get the brand new book, The Alone Advantage, with the Dreams and Goals, not Dreams and Goals, a gratitude journal, where you're going to start implementing these habits immediately behind the scenes. So all you have to do is call the number on the screen or go to Terry.com. Now this is normally $40, but we bundled it together and reduced the price to $30. So I hope that's a blessing to you. Again, you just call the number on the screen or go to Terry.com and we will ship it right to you. And I'm telling you, if you're in a rut like I was, if you're so busy you barely have time to read a book, or if you're confused about what God wants you to do with your life, I want you to get these resources. I'm going to show you how your strength will be found in solitude. I'm going to show you how clarity comes from questions. Your purpose will be discovered in privacy. So, people are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. I'm cheering you on to live your dreams.
Whatever your unique, God-given dream is, Terry Savelle Foy's new book, The Alone Advantage, reveals what successful people do in private to prepare and achieve the dreams in their heart. Discover how you can wake up with vision, live each day with purpose, and experience God's promotion in your life. As you read, you'll get the 10 behind-the-scenes habits that drive crazy success and receive practical, faith-filled keys to find your purpose, hear God's voice, and live your dreams. Plus, you'll also get a copy of this quality gratitude journal to record your thankfulness and keep your heart open to receive the blessings and abundance God has for you. This must-have package will transform your mind and propel you to fulfill your destiny. Call or go online today to request the Alone Advantage along with the gratitude journal, available for a limited time. Call toll-free at 1-800-795-5597 or visit us online at terry.com. Order now and discover your Alone Advantage today.
Hey, I want to invite you to be part of something extraordinary. We're on a mission to pay off our ministry headquarters so we can do more to reach others for Jesus. More outreach, more ministry teaching, and more lives impacted around the world with the message of vision and faith. I'm asking God for 3,300 people to partner with us with a $1,000 gift or $84 a month. Being debt-free allows us to redirect the resources we've been putting towards the building payments into reaching those in need. You know, God's word says that what you sow, you will reap. But when you sow into our ministry, you position yourself for God to move supernaturally in your life, whether it's debt freedom, financial breakthroughs, or dreams achieved in ways you never imagined. Join me and other partners by going to terry.com/leap to give today. Let's take this leap of faith together. And I want to say thank you for your generosity and for being a part of this debt-free mission.